this dear brother, and I know he loves him. All right, let's take our Bibles, if you will, and turn to the book of Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter number 3. So we have enjoyed these testimonies. It's one of the definite things that the Lord gave us. He saved us that's different from anybody else's. Yeah. Nobody's got your testimony. So, use it. It is special. It'll be a blessing, I guarantee you, to somebody else. No matter what your testimony is, it's a testimony of grace. And all received from it. I think one of the strangest ones I ever heard is a pastor out in Houston, Texas. He's a businessman, he's a young man, and pretty successful. Things began to fall apart for a while. His wife, the young ones, left him. And things were just hitting rock bottom, so he said, I thought I'd go to the tavern, to where I always visited, where he always went to drink. So he said, I went, and said, I sat down, and the bartender said, he looked at me and said, man, what's wrong with you? He said, I don't know what I did. I just broke down and told him. He said, well, my business has fell apart. My wife's left me, took the youngins, and things just couldn't be any worse. He said, there's a little old fellow sitting on a stool right beside him, drunk. And he spun around and looked up at me and said, what you need to do to get saved? He said, what do you know about religion? He said, you're drunk. He said, if I had a Bible, I'd show it. He said, the bartender's standing there and said he stepped back with a sort of strange look. He said, I don't know why, but I was cleaning under here the other day and said, I think I saw a Bible. So he pulled that Bible out and said, that drunk showed me 3 verses and I got born again. Somebody said, well, God wouldn't go in that place. Well, don't tell this preacher. Aren't you glad the Lord is in the saving business no matter where it's at? How wonderful and how fresh a testimony is. Matthew's Gospel and chapter number 4, verse number 1, we begin reading there. We're noticing some of those amplified places that the Holy Ghost has put emphasis on where Jesus visited while he was in this world. Again, I don't think he ever took a step out of the will of God. But yet, it seems as though that some of those places are recorded and again amplified for our benefit and for our purpose. I do believe that every step he ever took, he took for me and he took for you. And we noticed, of course, Jesus yesterday was in the Jordan and how that he is one of us, that we might become one with him. If we had time, we'd preach on Jesus is in the house. That was his favorite place to visit. He loves it when you come to his house, but if that's all the time you spend with him, you don't spend a lot of time together. It'd be good if you just invite him to your house. He wants to be among us. Jesus was at Bethlehem in that meaning. He is to be worshipped by us. And on we could go. But I want us to look here in Matthew chapter number 4, how that Jesus is in the wilderness. He is being tempted as us. He is being tempted as us. I was thinking about Hebrews and how that it speaks of this matter of temptation. We have not a great high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was tempted in all manner, such as we, like as we, yet without sin. Hebrews 2:18, for in that he himself hath suffered being tempted, He is able to succor them that are tempted. And so Christ He is as us in this matter of testings and trials and temptations. And so let's read these verses, and I want to make application. I want us to see where Christ is at and let it speak to our hearts in our hours and our moments of temptation. We'll begin in verse number 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. When he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. When the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. He answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against the stone. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Again the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Jesus unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. I want us to look for just a few moments at this matter of Jesus being in the wilderness. He's being tempted. He is as us. Three simple things, basic things that I want to emphasize. First, I want you to notice that Jesus' time of temptation was when the situation was at its worst. You've heard the little phrase, the cliche that says, when it rains, it pours. Well, so it is here with Christ. It seems like all the perfect components have come together that would make it the right time to tempt somebody. So it is in your life and in my life that there are those situations that seem to compile upon us that bring us to this point of which we seem to be more easily drawn or more easily tempted. Look at where he's at. The Bible said that he is in the wilderness. Now I'm not going to try to tell you how Christ felt himself at that moment, but I do want you to understand what is contained within this word. The word wilderness, of course, means a desolate place. It is synonymous with the word desert in the Bible. It is, of course, a lonely place. It is a place of where you feel as though that you are isolated. As a matter of fact, it contains within it, as I was studying this word, to be orphaned. To feel as though that you don't have even a father, or you don't have a mother, you don't have anybody to hold you up or to strengthen you in this time. That is the hour in which Christ is being tempted. And of course we can make applications in our own hearts and lives that these times of loneliness, these times of bewilderment, these times of isolation, these times of which you feel like, and I think maybe it expresses it even the best, where you feel like maybe you've been orphaned. You are fatherless, you are motherless, you are left there to face whatever is being faced all by yourself. A very lonely hour. Of course, they tell us that loneliness is one of the most feared feelings of man, that he cannot handle nor contend with. And God knew that when He created Adam and Eve. He said concerning Adam, it's not good for man to be alone. And those lonely times can be times of trials and times of temptation. But this is where he is. He feels as though, or we feel as though, I should say, as if we are all alone. And then I note that he has been there for 40 days. Mark amplifies this. He said he was there in the wilderness for 40 days, tempted of Satan, and was with the wild beasts. Now, I notice where he's at. He's in the wilderness. I notice how long that he's been there. He's been there for 40 days. And of course, temptations are those things that we seem to not be able to get over instantly. They are those circumstances and situations that we're looking for the end, but it involves some time. And a minute seems like it's forever. Yeah. And you never know when you're going to get out from under the pressure that is upon you, the trial that has gripped you. I see the situation is at its worst because of where he's at. He's in the wilderness because of how long he's been there. Then I note that the situation is at its worst because of what is there. Mark again said that there were wild beasts there. Now, of course, we know that wild beasts are not of an intelligent source. They cannot communicate on the level that humans can, but they can make their sounds, and that's what's eerie about it. They can slither, and they can pounce, and they can hide, and so on. He's in the wilderness with the wild beasts. Now, of course, in hours of temptation, we feel like we're all alone. In hours of temptation, we feel like it's never going to end. And in hours of temptation, we feel like beasts are everywhere. Matter of fact, we imagine beasts. We hear beasts. And I think of it as a pastor. There are times in trials and temptations that every deacon turns into a lion or a snake, or you feel as though that there's somebody in the congregation you say to them, "Wait, do you think so-and-so's mad at us?" I mean, they didn't come by this morning. They usually do, and it's because of what you're facing in your isolation and loneliness that you're imagining. And of course it is out there, but that's all you can hear. You can't hear anything else. You're in the darkness of a loneliness where there's no intelligent voice, and so therefore all you hear is the lions, tigers, bears. Oh, no. But then I notice the situation's at its worst. I mean, just being all alone in the wilderness. I have been privileged to go to Israel, me and my wife, and stand there at the Dead Sea and look off to the east and to see, or to the west, and to see those mountain after mountain after mountain of nothing but what looks to be just red clay dirt. No appearance of life anywhere, no greenery. To be left out there in the hot sun by the day and the coolness of the night, where there seems to be this orphaned feeling. In other words, no feeling of comfort, comfortless. Yes. And to be left there for such a long period of time, and then the only thing you can hear is that which would bring fear to your heart. Yes. But then all of a sudden company shows up. Yeah. You think it's going to get better when you hear the voice. But it's not. In verse number 3, when the tempter. I thought it was as bad as it could be. But then